So we're ready to start laying out the cover on our other side, which is the 2010 side, because on the 2009 side we run from July to December. So 2010 will obviously start January. And for the cover shapes, I've used the Georgian Basic Shapes cartridge. If you look on page 112, you'll see a rounded rectangle. And that's what I used. I, of course, used Design Studio so I could get the exact perfect shape. However, if you are just using your Cricut and using your keypad, the height that you would want to set your wheel at is 6 7/8 inches in order to be the correct size approximately. You're probably going to have a little bit of grunge board showing, but you can just ink that up and you'll probably not even notice it. Or you could cut it bigger and trim it by hand, but that kind of defeats the purpose. Anyway, so that's the shape I used there. So I've got that cut out here, and I'm going to just adhere my paper down. The other thing that I want to do is punch my holes, because the desk calendar has a couple little holes here punched at the top, and I want to get those done before I put my second layer of paper on the back side here. So I'm just going to punch those out. And I'm using my Crocodile. If you have a Big Bite, you can use that as well. And I know you're probably thinking, yes, but your holes aren't punched yet, and that's true. But I am going to, since they're already punched on the one side, I can use that as a guide to punch on this side. So I'm just going to punch again. So I'll put my paper between my Big Bite here and okay, so my holes are punched. So here's my corner with a little Flower Soft on the inside there, and I'm just going to set that down. And if you want to at this point let them dry, you can. You don't have to, because I'm going to just flip it right over and crimp my edges down. And you'll probably find that since your paper is kind of overhanging a little bit, that it crumples the paper slightly on the other side, but it doesn't really matter. You don't even really notice it. And you do definitely want to get that glue in there, because originally I just tried to crimp these edges over, and my corner, I must not do a good job of crimping because it didn't stay. They fell off. So, okay. So my cover is all ready to, I'm ready to kind of do the next steps. I want to run a little piece of paper across the middle here. I'm just going to flip this piece of paper over and trace myself a cutoff line. So we've got our nice little piece of paper that we're going to run across the front here, and I'm going to crumple it up. Make it look a little distressed. You can even, if you would like to, use your Tim Holtz paper distressor along the edges. Make some little torn edges. And you might find when you're using this tool that if you always use the same blade, you're going to dull it out. So if you can, try to work on some of the edges that you don't usually use. Okay, so now we start with our ink. And I need going to be using frayed burlap. And I'm just gonna lightly put it over my strip of paper here. I'm gonna use a little bit of yarn here. So I'm just gonna run a ribbon of glue through the middle of this piece to lay down my ribbon. And then I'm going to also do the same thing to lay down this piece. And this one's a little more flimsy and fibrous, so when I put it down, I'm just gonna really like lay it in there and try to press it down so that the glue gets nice and absorbed in there. Okay, so that has to dry just a little bit before we work on it, and we can though work on our 2010 numbers. And I'm just going to use my ink blending tool and color in my numbers. We're almost done with our cover, but we've got 2 things left, and those things are next.